After completing my third year as a coach in the NCAA, I was coming off multiple 10-win seasons with Stanford and had completely turned their program around. With that success, I was given several job offers to be a head coach or to become an offensive coordinator. After letting you guys make my decision, it was favored that you all wanted me to be an offensive coordinator for Alabama. Bama has a lot of talent leaving from last year, and just look at all these players that will be drafted. Luckily for me though, Bama has talent at every single position, and the offense this year would be led by senior quarterback Jalen Milroe along with one of the best receivers in the nation, Kendrick Law. This will be my last stop as an offensive coordinator, and at the end of the video I will need your help in making my next decision. Our first game would see us going up against a ranked opponent as Toledo was number 20 in the nation and they were hosting us as we traveled to their hometown. I was excited to see what Jalen Milroe had in store for him in this game, but after this hit here, he ended up getting injured and would be out for the rest of the game. At quarterback would be sophomore Michael McKinney, who was an 81 overall but had a great arm on him. Like I was saying, Alabama has talent at every single position, so I wasn't surprised when Michael McKinney found Miles Kitselman for that wide open touchdown and followed up again on the very next drive with another touchdown straight down the seam. Michael McKinney was looking great and it looked like Miles Kitselman was his favorite receiver as he kept throwing to him multiple times, and within the first half, Kitselman had 3 touchdowns. McKinney was having an amazing game as we found ourselves absolutely destroying Toledo, and he found Kendrick Law here for an amazing play, and Kendrick Law was finally able to show off his speed, and McKinney would set Alabama school records for passing yards and touchdowns in a game as he finished with over 650 passing yards and 7 touchdowns. We'd be home for our next game against South Dakota State, and it looked like Jalen Milroe was picking up right where McKinney left off, finding Kitselman over the middle, and Milroe was finally able to show off his arm as he found Kendrick Law streaking along the left side. It was great to see Jalen Milroe back out on the field as he was making play after play and found Kobe Prentice here sprinting on the left side for a wide open touchdown yet again. I was telling my offense that we were going to be amazing this year. Michael McKinney did impress me last game, so I knew that if Milroe got injured, we would be able to have a good backup, but Milroe had more to his game as he was able to scramble around to the outside, showing off a part of his game that McKinney didn't have in that great speed, and Milroe would go on to have a great game. We would open up conference play against 99 overall Missouri, and our offense had looked unstoppable the first 2 games, so I was surprised when we threw this interception here, but our defense was able to get a stop, and on the next drive we found Isaiah Bond for a touchdown, and we followed it up on the very next one with Milroe rolling out to the left side and finding Isaiah Bond yet again for another touchdown. At the beginning of the second quarter we found ourselves up 28 points, and Milroe was beginning to make a name for himself as he found Kendrick Law streaking on the right side here, and it looked like this was going to be one of the best duos in all of college football this year. Milroe would top it off at the end of the game to have us score over 50 points, and 3 games into the season Kendrick Law was second in the Heisman watch, and we found ourselves at the top of the SEC West. Texas was second on our side of the SEC, so I was glad that we were playing them next, as this would be the most formidable opponent that we've been playing yet, as it was number 11, but you could never tell with Texas because they were always ranked really high, but they could never perform well, and luckily Jalen Milroe was able to get us close to the end zone here, and on the very next play he read the read option perfectly to get us in the end zone. We were up multiple possessions in the second and extended our lead here, and after Jalen read the defense perfectly with this dot to Kobe Prentice, that would help push our lead as we absolutely dominated Texas. Even though we had been absolutely dominating opponents this entire season in the SEC so far, it really goes to show how talented the SEC is, because Ole Miss was 0-4 with a 99 overall team, but luckily on the first play we were able to get Kendrick Law over the top to show off his speed yet again. But other than that touchdown on our first offensive play, our offense had been struggling the entire first half, and we found ourselves down by multiple possessions in the third quarter until Kobe Prentice was able to juke out a defender and take it all the way down to the house. And I needed my offense to stop playing conservatively, so I told Jalen to air it over the top to Kendrick, which he was able to do yet again, and it seemed like we've been doing this all year long. With that touchdown we were able to go up by 4 into the fourth quarter, and thanks to our defense only holding Ole Miss to 17 points, we were able to run out the rest of the clock and win the game. I had been leading Alabama to the best offense in the entire nation, so I began looking at head coaching opportunities. We were back at our home turf playing against Old Dominion in a rainy game, and I was hoping for another easy win as we had beaten opponents that were way more difficult than Old Dominion is, so I was glad to see that Jalen was able to get us started off right while continuing to impress NFL scouts as he was airing the ball deep every single game to Kendrick Law, and within the first half we had over 30 points until Jalen found Kendrick on the right side here, and we absolutely destroyed Old Dominion. Our next game would see us going to Texas to take on Texas A&M, and even though our offense had looked good this entire year, Jalen didn't seem like he wanted to play this game because he had started off the game with some terrible throws to wide open receivers, and after this first down throw here, I was fed up and started cussing him out in the headset. I had been calling great plays all game, but Jalen had been playing poorly, so I decided that we were going to start running the ball a little bit more to get him acclimated to the offense again, and that must have worked as he finally wanted to start playing some football and found Isaiah Bond here, and to begin the second quarter he found him yet again on the left side for another touchdown. Even with our offense finally starting to play some football, we found ourselves down by 4 at halftime, so I was cussing out the entire team during the break because I thought we were way better than Texas A&M, and I didn't think the score should be anywhere like it was, which must have worked as we were finally able to take the lead. Our defense forced A&M to kick a field goal, so luckily for us we were able to drive down the next possession, and Jamarian Miller made a great play, which helped lead us to a difficult victory. We still found ourselves at the top of the SEC tied with Auburn, but I was going to try not to focus on that as we were traveling to Tennessee for our next game. Tennessee was another highly rated team on paper, but with a bad record as they were 3-5, and Kendrick Law had been making him look silly this entire game so far. And Jalen wanted to start off better than he did last game, finding Danny Lewis Jr. here. And halfway through the season, it looked like Isaiah Bond finally wanted to start making a name for himself, as it seems like he's been scoring touchdown after touchdown the last several games. This Alabama team was so deep with talent that every single receiver and tight end was better than every other player on the field, no matter who he played against, and Kendrick Law proved that here yet again, as we would put up 55 points against the Volunteers. I was hoping to keep our 8-0 winning streak alive against LSU, and our offense wasn't helping too much as we had been struggling on the first drive, so luckily Milroe was able to use his legs here for a third down conversion, and Jalen was able to find his favorite target later that drive, and Kendrick Law was able to juke out a defender and use his speed to outrun everybody else. I couldn't believe the talent that I had on this team. Bama was an absolute cheat code as we had the best quarterback in the nation throwing to the best playmaker in the nation every single game. It seemed as if Jalen and Kendrick were trying to prove themselves to be one of the best duos in all of college football history, which they were doing each and every game, and it was proving here as LSU had no answers for Kendrick the entire game, and Jalen was just throwing it up to him with easy success on every single possession, leading to multiple touchdowns and tons of yards, along with another easy victory over an SEC opponent. Mississippi State was up next on our slate, as we were still tied with Auburn for the top of the SEC West. Mississippi State on paper is 99 overall across the board, and they are a 1-9 team, just proving how difficult the SEC actually is. But on paper, Bama was also 99 overall, and we were undefeated up until this point of the season, and Jalen found Jamarian Miller here for a touchdown, and Jalen and Kendrick continued what they've been doing all year long in scoring touchdowns. With our massive talent at every single position, you truly had to pick your poison, as we were able to beat you with every single player on the field. It made play calling extremely easy for me, as I was able to call my offense the way that I truly designed it to be this entire time, and after being able to run out the clock for the rest of the game, we would hold on to our lead and beat Mississippi State by 7 in a game that saw Kendrick Law going off for 245 yards and 4 touchdowns. 10 games into the season, Jalen was officially at the top of the Heisman watch, with Kendrick being third, and we were looking to keep our success against the new SEC team, Oklahoma. Auburn would end up losing one of their games, so we would overtake them in the SEC West, but that wouldn't matter as we'd be playing them later in the year, and if they beat us, they would be number 1 in the SEC West, leading to them playing in the conference championship. And I wasn't impressed that it took us until the second quarter to get onto the board, but Milroe was able to find Kitzelman here for our first lead of the game, and after our defense forced a turnover, getting us a goal-to-goal situation, we scored yet again, and even though our offense started the game off slow, our defense was giving us the ball with great field position, leading to easy touchdowns, and midway through the game, we found Kendrick Law for a wide-open pass here, and that pass would end up breaking Devontae Smith's record for school receiving yards in a season. History was still being made later in the game as Jalen found Kendrick for another touchdown, leading to Jalen setting the new school passing touchdown record for a season, as we cruised to another easy victory. The stage was finally set for our game against number 9 Auburn, and the winner of this game would be playing in the SEC Conference Championship. Throughout this entire season, our offense and defense had been on another level as we've been destroying teams, so after Jalen threw that interception to start off the game, I made sure we called some easy routes for him to get settled into it. That seemed to work as we were able to drive down the field and find Miles Kitzelman, and on our next offensive play, Jalen found Jamarian Miller streaking down the middle here, and Kendrick proved he was more than just a receiver as he picked up an amazing block, which led to Jamarian getting an easy touchdown. With us finally taking the lead, I told Jalen to start airing the top off and taking some chances, and after almost throwing an interception, Kendrick made an amazing catch, which led to a Kobe Prentice touchdown the next play. Before I knew it, we had over 40 points as we would decimate Auburn 56-14 in the Iron Bowl. That victory would lead to us traveling to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium where we were taking on Georgia in the SEC Conference Championship. It seemed as if everything had been going great for us this entire year, so I wasn't surprised when Jalen got hit on this play, leading to him being out for the rest of the game. That meant that I had to get McKinney ready. It was terrible news that Jalen would be out for the rest of the game, but luckily we saw what McKinney could do earlier in the year, and I think that game at the beginning of the season would help him in this one, as he would look composed in the pocket and make some great passes to get us down the field, as he would find Kobe Prentice running the slant route for an easy touchdown. McKinney didn't have much experience in his college career, so I wasn't surprised when he made this terrible read right here, but our defense was able to hold Georgia to 0 points, and McKinney found Isaiah Bond on the left side, and then he found Miles streaking down the middle. Our offense had been looking sluggish and slow this game, so I made a great play and had McKinney throw it to Kobe Prentice on the left side, and we were able to finally get our first big play of the game, and on the next play we were able to follow it up with McKinney making a great read, and late in the fourth quarter we found ourselves up by 10 points after this field goal, and we were able to hold that lead for the rest of the game, so the players started celebrating with McKinney, and I had won my first conference championship since my first season at Arkansas State. This year wasn't over yet, but Jalen Milroe would end up winning the Heisman by a landslide, and the college football playoff was set as we saw ourselves going against Penn State. This will be our toughest game yet, as Penn State was the defending champion, and it was showing that Jalen was nervous to start the game, and I had to walk off him throwing that interception. I told Jalen that McKinney had a great game last game and that he would be benched if he ended up playing terribly, but he knew that, so him and Kendrick Law made sure that didn't happen. I thought that would help settle Jalen into the game, but he overthrew a wide open touchdown pass, and on third down he followed it up with one of the worst passes I've ever seen, so I made sure to cuss him out the entire time. Thankfully for us, our defense was really good and it was able to hold Penn State multiple times, and that touchdown pass would lead to Milroe breaking Mac Jones' fastest single season passing yards record. That would also help us take a multiple possession lead going into halftime, and we were looking to extend our lead as Jalen was able to find Miles Kitselman on the 2nd and 21 conversion, and on the very next play he made one of the best passes I had seen all season and got us another touchdown late in the 4th quarter. That would help us go on to destroy Penn State, leading to us playing Ohio State in the college football playoffs. This would be our toughest game of the entire season, as Ohio State lost the national championship game last year and they didn't want to do that again. I had been talking with the offense all week and told them to just do what we've been doing all year long, and Jalen would make that happen as he threw the ball as far as he possibly could, finding Kendrick Law on the left side, leading to our first touchdown. That would lead to Kendrick Law breaking the history book yet again with the most receiving touchdowns in NCAA history, and after a touchdown to end the first half to Jamarian Miller, the score wouldn't change going into the 4th quarter as we were up by 7. Our defense had been playing well and we were able to go up by multiple possessions as Jalen broke Joe Burrow's passing touchdown record. It seemed like the game was out of reach for Ohio State, but after stopping us on 3rd down, they were able to tie up the game, and on the last play of regulation, this Ohio State defender made a great play, so it wasn't looking good for us when Ohio State went and scored on their first possession of overtime. And this was unusual territory for us as we had been destroying everybody all year long, but I knew that Jalen would be making the right reads, which he did here, finding Kitselman wide open for the touchdown, tying the game, and on our next possession he read the read option perfectly, leading to a 3rd down conversion, following it up with an absolute dart to Colby Prentice. Our defense had been playing poorly and just let the Ohio State quarterback run straight to the end zone, but they were able to make a stop on the next possession, so all we needed to do now was get 3 points on the board, but we were going for a touchdown, which is exactly what happened as we found Prentice on the left side wide open. That would lead to us winning the national championship, and I was glad that I didn't get Gatorade poured on me as my players were too busy celebrating their great win. And this is exactly how I wanted my year to end. This entire season we had been breaking records left and right as we had broken multiple school records along with some NCAA records that will probably never be beaten ever again. Jalen put up one of the best seasons a quarterback has ever done as he had 5,100 passing yards along with 64 touchdowns, and Kendrick Law finished it off with the best receiving stats that the game of football has ever seen. After leading Bama to one of the best offenses that the world has ever seen, I had tons of head coaching opportunities and I needed your help deciding which team I go to. After going through my offers, I want you guys to pick from these 6 teams, as the top 3 teams had been struggling in their respective conferences, but they wouldn't need a complete rebuild, and the bottom 3 teams were in terrible conferences and would most likely need a complete rebuild. So you decide if you want me going to a decent team in a great conference or a less than decent team needing a complete rebuild.